think even beyond EVs, pure petrol hybrids, from what I understand, they're even working on full flex fuel vehicles.
The speed and agility is the name of the game today, and Mahindra actually delivers it on ground.
Absolutely flexible and agile. And you're talking about volumes. I think with this platform and the products that are spun off it, they're looking at an additional 240,000 units.
They're effortlessly doing about 40, 45, inching up to 50. And they're in fact asking the ecosystem to be ready for 75,000 units per month kind of volume, which is insane.
There's one engine which they have in their arsenal, which they haven't used yet. And it was shown way back in 2020 at the Auto Expo. I remember it when they launched their petrol engine family. And that's the 1.5 turbo petrol. Hello, it's that time of the week for our weekly podcast, Deep Drive, powered by Kotak Mahindra Prime. Now, on this episode, we're going to be talking about Mahindra and specifically their all-new platform, the new iQ, which they launched on 15th August, Independence Day. That has been a typical tradition. And clearly, I think this time, they've really knocked it out of the park. I'm Hormazd Sorabjee.
I am Ketan Thakkar. Yes, Hormazd, indeed, 15th August, customary affair at Mahindra & Mahindra, and they have to surprise you all the time, isn't it? It's like 3 years in a row, 3 years in a row rather, 22, 23, 24, fourth year in a row. What did you make of it?
I think this one, really, they kind of just took it to the next level. I think, all new platform, multiple body styles, platform capable of taking multiple powertrains. I think this is really what Mahindra was making a statement more than just, showcasing technology, that this is the future of the company going in a new direction. Of course, the existing products will carry on in parallel. That is also something which is very unique to Mahindra, which they do because they've got, two sides, body on frame and now this new monocoque direction which they are taking. So I think clearly this is, quite amazing. I have to say I was quite blown away, not with just, let's say the, the kind of models that were shown, 4 models simultaneously. Of course, they're all concepts, but I think we know what they will translate to in the future. None of these are going to be on the road as we see them. They're absolutely in concept stage, but very close to what it is. But I think they're addressing all the segments. I think they're addressing a key segment in which they had, let's say not been present,
yes,
which is the sub 4 meter segment, only there with the 3XO. And the timing is fantastic because just a few days after, there's this talk of 18% GST coming down from 28 to 18% for sub 4 meter cars. So I think they've been superbly placed. In fact, this is one area where I think they were not very present. If you look at the top 3 manufacturers of top 4 manufacturers, you had Maruti, of course, very strong in sub 4 meter. Hyundai is there. Even Tata Motors is there. Mahindra really not present. And really it's creditable that, they're fighting for number 2 place with Hyundai by just addressing, about 55% of the market or so.
Absolutely.
55-60% of the market. So clearly, I think what they have said, there are a lot of white spaces for them. And I think it's come out of absolute focus. They are still focusing on SUVs only. That's very, very clear. And I think this time, Ketan, it's not just domestic, but they're looking global as well, which I want to talk about. Far easier said than done. Going global is a completely different ballgame, especially, today where you have so much competition, especially from Chinese brands, which are really, beating us on a lot of things like cost, technology, that sort of stuff. So, but again, it's great to see the ambition. It's great to see the drive. And what's phenomenal is how much they've packed into these platforms. It's really, future-proofing it for the next decade or so.
No, it's phenomenal as to how the speed and agility is the name of the game today. And Mahindra actually delivers it on ground. And it has happened year after year. I mean, it was shocking to see a grounds-up EV architecture in 36 months' time. And when the entire rigmarole moved in favor of hybrids, or rather the conversation against the EV started, there were question mark raised as to how is Mahindra placed on the ICE business. And we saw what happened. I mean, a flexible architecture that is future-proofing itself. Whichever way the market moves, if there is a swift move towards compact electric, They have this new IQ architecture.
Right.
If there is movement towards ICE, they have all the powertrains. It is future-proof for that. The architecture is not only for sub-4 meter, but for larger vehicles as well.
And on powertrains, hybrids also is possible.
Potential hybrid. And the company did mention that, right now they're focusing on ICE and EVs, but definitely we know.
Yeah, I think the H word people don't want to say right now because clearly I can understand it from, let's say, obviously there's one lobby saying that we don't need the hybrids, let's go the EV route, which is possible. So, obviously I think no one's going to be talking about it. But I think even beyond EVs, pure petrol hybrids, from what I understand, they're even working on full flex fuel vehicles. So I think really they're looking at all possible options of powertrains because I think, with this whole ethanol, let's say, gathering steam and of course the uproar notwithstanding, it's very clear the direction of the government. They've shown that they can give you E20 ethanol on a pan-India basis, and obviously they will want to increase the level of ethanol, but you have to move to a flex fuel vehicle in time, and I think they're working on that as well.
What is phenomenal for me, Hormazd, is that the preparedness in the background. While they may not speak about hybrid or they may not speak about some of the other technologies, but they are preparing in the background. And we've seen the commentary from the top management as well, that if tomorrow there's demand for hybrids, a certain segment of the market may need hybrid, we're not close to that opportunity. So they're not really closing the door on the technology.
Yeah.
They're preparing in the backdrop. The market launch is something very strategic and tactical in nature, whether there is enough volume for them to justify that investment. At the R&D level, the work is definitely happening. Now, whether that R&D work translates into a real-world product remains to be seen, but we know that there's a whole host of technology that the company is working on, and they're preparing for any eventuality. If the market were to move again in hybrid favor or in flex fuel favor, Mahindra is ready.
Absolutely flexible and agile. And you're talking about volumes. I think with this platform and the products that are spun off it, they're looking at an additional 240,000 units.
Phenomenal.
That's what they've said. But Ketan, what I've heard is the ambition is so great because obviously they're looking global. Suppliers have been told to gear up for 1.5 million units by 2032.
Insane. That's insane.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting to see now, where these volumes will come from. So I think clearly, the sub-4 meter segment has been a white space, which has been largely neglected. 3XO served that. I think what we will see in time is that eventually the 3XO will be phased out in the next couple of years, and you'll find its a replacement on this new platform.
Right.
Don't forget the 3XO was a SsangYong platform, not optimal. It was expensive. It was heavy. It's something they inherited from SsangYong. So clearly they wanted to, get something
of their own.
Have something of their own. Clearly, they get the scale effect as well if that platform is shared with other models and top hats. So I see, we saw the Vision X that could point towards the future 3XO. Again, that design was very coupe-ish, which I think they're addressing that segment as well because everything else was rather boxy and upright. So I think they really are looking at various, let's say white spaces, which they've constantly said they want to fill.
And it also opens up that opportunity in that 4.2, 4.3 meter Creta segment as well, isn't it, Hormazd?
I think that's really been the most elusive segment for a lot
Mahindra
and Tata Motors.
Yes.
I think Mahindra nearly got that. Where if they had tied up with Ford, that probably a product on a Creta size platform would be there 4.3. But of course, that's history now. I think they have a huge opportunity with this platform.
Absolutely.
4.3. So I want to talk a little bit about what they can do. They showed it in, I think it was the Vision T.
Yes.
With 4.3 meter, let's say, concept over there. A lot of potential. I think to really realize the potential of this platform, they need to just gun for the Creta because clearly Creta, if you see 15,000 units, that's really a number everyone aspires to have. But I think, it's how they kind of design and engineer the car to kind of take on this segment. Now, what I have seen, what we saw in the concept was a car which, again, the management was very keen to stress that all their cars have very high ground clearance and an elevated seating position, which kind of distinguishes them from other brands and is a USP.
Right.
It is to a certain point, and it definitely is. But I think sometimes, pushing too much on the ground clearance and the elevated, driving position does have its issues as well.
Right.
Firstly, I think, if this car is too high as an everyday SUV, if you're going against a Creta, the step in, step out height is super, super important.
Right.
They would need something a bit lower if they want to take the Creta head on. And you can do something like that without really compromising on the Mahindra DNA. Clearly, they want to build a Thar equivalent on a monocoque on this platform as well, which will serve not only our market as well as global markets. And I think that's also one direction. What they're looking at is with this very kind of massive wheels, 20-inch wheels, huge diameter, wheel diameter. I think what we don't talk about is the wheel diameter. This platform has been packaged to take in the sub 4 meter space about 740 millimeter wheel size. That's the diameter of an XUV 700. That's massive. And on the 4.3, you just take out, extend the track a bit. You'll get a little bit more space. It can go to even 760 millimeters.
Wow.
That's absolutely massive.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, do you need such massive wheels and tires? In some segments, it would be an advantage, but I think that would be quite a niche segment. As I said, if you want to play more in the mass segment, you need to have, let's say, a design which is slightly more mainstream. And I think the
Play on
Creta,
the comfort,
yeah, exactly. Getting in and out, comfort, all that sort of
not
thing.
that
is,
intimidating as well.
well, some people don't want it that intimidating as well, and I think the Creta template, we've said this before, is the template for the mid-size SUV segment. It's something that I think you should follow, keeping your own DNA in mind. So I think that's absolutely critical.
Right.
But again, coming back to the Vision T, which to me has a lot of potential. And firstly, you see the powertrain choice. Obviously, you've got a 1.5 diesel, which exists over there, which has scope to be upgraded for more power in the future. I'm sure that can be done. I think from what I understand has been packaged to take the 2.2 diesel and the 2-liter petrol as well, which I think is an overkill for India, but that could be for export markets where you do need the power. And I think there's one engine which they have in their arsenal, which they haven't used yet. And it was shown way back in 2020 at the Auto Expo. I remember it when they launched their petrol engine family. And that's the 1.5 turbo petrol. Okay. They have developed one. I think it's 160 horsepower. That would be a really sweet spot. This Vision T would be a sweet spot for that engine to kind of sort of make its debut, or it might even come earlier. Who knows? Because these products are at least 2-3 years away. So I think from an powertrain point of view, it's really sorted. I think the one area where there's a bit of a gap and no one's really paid attention to this powertrain is a 1.5 naturally aspirated engine.
Right.
Because, I think if you look at, again, the Creta, which I will always look at to as reference, just given how dominant it is in its segment, I think about 70% of Creta sales are the 1.5 NA engine, naturally aspirated, not the turbo. Now, I think people underestimate the importance of this engine because, all of us journalists, we like more power, we like the tech, so we go in for we test the top end models. But this really is the underdog, the mainstay for a lot of SUVs. I mean, we've seen it in the Brezza. Brezza still does great numbers. We've seen it in the Kia as well, and we've seen it in the Creta as well, in the Kia Seltos.
Right.
So I think, and why is this engine so popular or so widespread? Because it just does the job, and it does it in a cost-effective way. A 1.5 NA is much cheaper to produce than a turbo engine, and most important, especially going forward now with E20 coming and kind of having an impact on fuel efficiency, a 1.5 NA in real world conditions is always more fuel efficient than the turbo petrol.
Right.
Now, Mahindra, the way the brand is, fortunate for them, fuel efficiency isn't a super important thing, and it's more about power, performance, and technology. So obviously, they've done really well with just turbo engines. If you look at it, they would try any NA engines at all. everything is turbocharged,
Right.
which is amazing. And they're doing volumes with this.
Right.
But I think this engine would be one that, is a bit of a gap right now. I think a lot of other makers are also looking at this, realizing that this 1.5 NA just somehow goes under the radar.
Right.
But if you see the volumes, it's pretty high. So I think that's one thing they should work on. I don't think they have any plan right now because, again, in this day and age, it's just one more engine, more compliance,
Yes.
more regulation. Your bandwidth is absolutely maxed out. So, but even so, without that, I think, powertrain, they've really nailed. The 1.2 turbo petrol is there for the sub 4 meter. That's sorted. 1.5 diesel is also there for the sub 4 meter, which is sorted. So I think from an ICE front, fantastic. And I think Ketan EVs also, what they've done right now with their current two products is pretty amazing.
No, phenomenal. Already in a short span of time, they are revenue market leader. Yes, volumes are still picking up, not as high as one was expecting when the model was launched.
But they've only launched the top end variant.
Yes, Pack 3. They recently rolled out the Pack 2 version. The Pack 1 is in the offing. And with that kind of top end variant, they're already doing about 3,500. So with an aggressively priced Pack 2, Pack 1, which is what the market is calling for.
So what you're saying is, in terms of revenue, they are more than Tata Motors,
yes, indeed,
and MG as well.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
Absolutely. And which is phenomenal. I mean, and their focus has been at the top end, and they've been raising the bar. Probably the only brand to have caught the fancy of buyers, about 20 lakh rupees price bracket. Literally everyone has tried. Maruti, Hyundai, MG, but one brand that has consistently done well is Mahindra and Mahindra, and which is why this platform is so critical, Hormazd, that while they've addressed the top end, now that's the core of the market that they're getting into. And it's phenomenal as to how in a short span of time, in just 3-4 years, a company that used to do about volumes of 25,000, 24,000 units, and that too also used to be a lot of effort, they're effortlessly doing about 40, 45, inching up to 50, and they're in fact asking the ecosystem to be ready for 75,000 units per month kind of volume, which is insane. My only fear is they're pushing the envelope right now. I also hear they're pushing the inventory in the market with the hope that the market festive season growth will be there, but the market growth is still very slow.
So they're the only one that really bucked the market trend in that sense.
Absolutely, and I'm just hoping that that they are able to sustain that momentum, because right now Mahindra is operating at a certain trajectory, whereas market can only absorb so much. So I just hope that with the new models that they are able to take it to the next level. Otherwise, somewhere the law of economics, take precedence, and then you have to align to market realities.
Right. But, talking about speed and agility, even this Batman edition, I believe they just got it out in about 40-45 days, which is unbelievable. It's the speed at which they kind of churn this out.
No, it's phenomenal, Hormazd. Why? Because they earlier thought the BE6 is going to get a lot of traction, but they were surprised with a lot more action on the 9E front. Now, you also want excitement to be there on the BE6 front. So this is one way.
Yeah, I think the BE6, from what I understand, I think the mix now is about 65-70 to 35-30, which is
like
the 9E, the more expensive 9E.
Right.
I think it also points to a lot of things where the fundamentals cannot be compromised, which is maybe rear seat space,
right?
And maybe even for some the design's a bit too radical on the BE6. This is what we are hearing.
Headroom at the back.
Headroom at the back is an issue. Headroom getting in also is an issue. I'll be honest, a lot of ergonomic flaws in that vehicle, but even then, I mean, it has, it does excite you. I think there's no doubt about it.
Definitely.
I'm understanding the younger audience really like the BE6. But I think clearly, everyone is wanting to, spend a couple of lakhs more and go to the more practical 9E.
Now, you spoke about speed and agility. One thing where you can actually give credit to the company, and they are a listening organization. They, I'm sure, would have taken feedback from a lot of experts in the market and the consumers especially. One thing which Rajesh right at the top leads with is having presence on ground zero. He himself spends a lot of time on ground zero, visiting dealers, meeting customers, visiting vendors, taking feedback, and he ensures that the level 1, level 2, level 3 are on ground zero, taking feedback from the market and reacting to the market needs. And I do feel that with the BE6 as well, there's a lot of ammo there. They had showcased that rally version.
No, absolutely. They haven't fired all their bullets.
Absolutely.
I mean, they still got a loaded gun or a semi-loaded gun. And, honestly, you see someone like Velu. I mean, he's a man on fire. It's just unbelievable, his energy, his dynamism. In fact, I want to come to that later. It's really these handful of leaders really making a complete difference in the organization.
Absolutely.
And you spoke of agility. I think, everyone at the top is so aligned, as you said. You've got Velu, you've got Rajesh, you've got Pratap,
Yes.
all kind of sync together and, making decisions, absolutely on the spot,
Absolutely.
and I think that's what's making the difference. I mean, I cannot imagine, let's say, other companies, even Tata Motors working like this. They're just too slow. Yeah.
Not too long back, we had Vijay and Vinod as well. I mean,
That's right.
the group of five as they were, along with the CFO, Rajiv Goel. What's amazing is that they are all aligned.
The G5, as they said.
G5, as they call it, and receptive to messages quickly. Sometimes I even heard that critical calls are taken on WhatsApp. So it just shows the alignment at the top and the speed and agility with which they are operating. Even from the design and R&D standpoint, I was having a chat with Pratap and Velu about how the life cycles are shrinking and how is Mahindra evolving. Their benchmark has completely changed, Hormazd, from looking to West to Europe and US. Now the eye is on the East, and
I think
benchmark is China.
East is China. I think from what I understand, they are just really focusing on China and to see what trends are emerging out of there. I think, people talk about, there's been discussion of finding a partner, and they've looked at Volkswagen, they've looked at others, but really, I mean, it's just, to be honest, pointless. I think if they had to partner with anyone, it would have to be some sort of Chinese entity. May not be an OEM, but a supplier or someone, because I think that really would bring value or scale up Mahindra to the level they want to go in terms of technology, in terms of products and stuff like that.
Absolutely, and even internally, Hormazd, as to how they are aligning for probable, competition with them in the global markets. And globalization is something that you spoke of. It's they've been at it for a while, not easy, but with the new platform and the architecture, they're going to make yet another dash at the global market. Of course, the phase one is their a conventional market, which they've been tackling for years, which is South Africa and Australia.
They've done really well in South Africa. I think about 2,200 units. It's supposed to be the fastest growing brand in South Africa. Yeah, but I think,
And 3XO winning, Hormazd. 3XO winning the car of the year over there.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So clearly, I think they've got that market really kind of.
But can they make it into the global market? What do you think?
I think it's going to be tough, but I think, now is the time to make that play. Don't forget, there's already an FTA with the UK. Yeah. By the time, they kind of get global, 5 years or later, you'll have EVs with 0% going into the UK. That's a big advantage. I'm sure there'll be some kind of deal with the EU as well.
Right.
So I think we've got to take that, kind of horizon and perspective. I think this platform, certainly, on the look of it, on spec, has the potential to go global. It's absolutely built to the latest standards, very high torsional stiffness, safety. I think Velu confirmed that, it meets every crash safety standard in the world, including the Euro NCAP. In fact, we can play that clip from from the interview we had.
We needed some innovations to meet the 5-star rating.
So what you're saying is this 5-star rating globally?
Globally.
Even Euro NCAP?
Yes. Euro NCAP, Australian NCAP, G NCAP.
Right.
So we ran about 800 simulations to find it out, the structure.
And the crash
Typically, you see it in the sill areas, you are strong. In the middle, you are not strong. So you saw in the presentation how well we have optimized with the twin trident structure. Also, side crash, you need to have the ring with the high strength steel ring. That's what you see it. So we were able to meet the crash norms.
So there, it's very clear that, they have this global ambition that, to go into the most mature global markets, which of course is Europe. Now, I think that is the big play. That's really where I think there is potential. Don't forget, you've got the Chinese now coming in and they are formidable competitors. To be honest, they are just way ahead of us. especially in the EV space.
Absolutely.
And it's largely because it's so competitive in China. You've got these 20 car makers, literally fighting like cats and dogs for the Chinese market, which is big. But again, as we know, it's not grown. It's had its own issues, and now they're looking outside
global market
to grow. So that will be competition. I think, one has to take a bold view, which is really contrary to what a lot of people think, and doesn't even seem like a bet on the future, is that ICE will be around for longer than people imagine, even in Europe.
Absolutely.
I think we are seeing these signs already. Mahindra right now genuinely has a globally competitive ICE portfolio,
right.
Especially across the range, and I think that's one play that they could have.
Right.
Where ICE is still being.
But do you think EV makes sense with the Inglo platform, and given the fact that management had already spoken about probably getting into the UK market?
I think EVs do make sense, but it's going to be a lot more competitive.
Right.
And I think honestly, with this body style, which is this very boxy, tall boy, high ground clearance, going EV is a challenge.
Right.
For many reasons. In fact, going into Europe is a challenge. You'll get a niche like the way the Suzuki Jimny has, but it may not be fully mainstream. I mean, if you see the way cars are evolving in Europe also, all brands are becoming them super aerodynamic.
Yes.
I mean, aerodynamics is absolutely a top priority right now. And again, for two reasons. On EV, it gives you the range, which is critical. And in Europe, where speeds are, more than 130, 140, that sort of thing, wind noise is super critical.
Right.
And largely with these boxy designs, there's pretty high wind noise as well.
And hence the Inglo platform EVs, because what I hear, Hormazd, is that there are specific UK-based variant being worked on in the kitchen.
Absolutely. But, it'll have to be a different kind of a body style. I think, Inglo is one. I'm talking about the new IQ. Which we saw, and if you see, that's by the look of it, on the face of it, it's got terrible aerodynamics,
right,
because it's very upright, very bluff nose, large wheels, ground clearance. So I think they will struggle with range on EVs because of the aerodynamics, and I think have to see on wind noise, because Europeans are very, very particular on wind noise over there. Two issues which could be a challenge with this body style, but it could be for Europe. They might look at a completely different body style altogether. But I think the challenge is, you've made this wheel envelope so huge, everyone doesn't want very large wheels all the time. You'll have to scale that down to get the aerodynamics, to get the lower stance, that sort of thing. So I think what's clear is what's working in India for Mahindra, I don't think will work globally.
Yeah.
The other area where I think, will not work in Europe is Mahindra's ergonomics.
Yes.
The only thing more confusing than their name nomenclature are their ergonomics. It's really not intuitive at all. They really need to work on that. And I think it's this maturity which, that needs to be brought in to appeal to a European audience.
More mature audience.
Yeah, my sense would be to enter Europe, let's say in more the Latin countries where there is... a price plays a better role, where value plays a big.
Spain.
Yeah, that's right. East Europe, Italy, Spain, over there. But I'm sure the cars will look stunning. I think they really looked absolutely very, very arresting, and But I think they will have to be tuned to European tastes. And right now, currently, what's in the European market definitely is not European taste. So there'll have to be a kind of, tweaking of that.
Right.
I think it'll take, if you ask me honestly, getting into Europe now, it might take another life cycle of a little bit of learning in Europe, feeling a bit of the pain, kind of establishing its footprints before it can truly, have a global presence or a substantial presence in a very key, lucrative, but very challenging market like Europe.
That's right. But the management has recently told us that after the event that, the first market is likely to be UK. And what we understand from the ecosystem is also the fact that they started developing a product specifically catering to the UK market. There is a specific code for each of the B6 and XEV9E, and that is likely to hit the roads in the next couple of years. And like you mentioned, 5 years is the time after that you get benefits of EV. So actually, right time, they can actually
that's right.
enter the market, build the brand, create that affinity around the brand, see the reaction from the local consumers, and actually tweak the product as and when they start getting benefit eventually 5 years down the line. So clearly, as a group, this time around, it appears that they are a lot more serious. In 2022, they had told that they will be entering the UK market. So clearly, say another couple of years or maybe less than that, you'll have the BE6 and XEV9E entering into the UK market along with the critical bastions of South Africa and Australia. And they have actually divided their international game plan into phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Right.
So definitely the product development cycle is also accordingly going to keep pace to meet the demands of the future and meet the demands of specific markets, which is the fabulous part about Mahindra and their R&D capability at this point in time.
But I think also, Ketan, to go global, they'll need to restructure themselves.
Yes.
I think, when you grow and you have certain scale, I think there will have to be a certain bit more reorientation of the structure, probably to have, an international MD, for example,
Yes.
just handling the entire, let's say, European and other markets as well. Because clearly, I think right now, the way the organization works, it's very agile, very India-centric, and obviously decisions taken very fast. But I think I think the organization will.
The complexity increases as you branch out, and you need more people, especially top executives.
And it will have to be a lot more structured than it is now.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And one of the big challenge that literally every automotive company faces is having those really top CXOs who deliver. Mahindra has been amazing.
No, absolutely. I think one has to say and just give it to them. I think this combination of the two leaders, I mean, Rajesh at the top, even Anish, who's totally aligned on everything, maybe not as operational as Rajesh is, but Rajesh and Velu together, Rajesh, absolute market wizard. I think everyone knows that, genius in that aspect. And Velu, an engineering genius as well. I mean, it's just an absolutely, powerful combination which is really yielding results.
Absolutely.
And if you look around and see any company, maybe even any domestic automaker, you just do not have that caliber of leadership here.
Absolutely. I mean, so it's scale, volume, products,
people,
and empowerment on ground zero. I just hope that their ambitions, while they're thinking really long term, somehow the market is not growing. And something that I keep asking the top management again and again, you are still continuing to look for that mid-teen to high teens growth, but the market realities are very different. How much can you push above the market envelope? And their conviction always is products. You come and bring out products, the category grows. And as how Anal, the CEO of the company, mentioned at the presentation, that the core SUV market has moved from 20% to 30%, and now their landscape has moved to more sub 4 meter and 4.3 meter.
And I think, Ketan, whilst it's doing that, let's not forget its core, its bread and butter, its jam and everything, which are the body on frame products.
Absolutely.
Which are absolutely, killing it. They've got no competition.
Monopoly, is it?
Some of them are icons. You've got the Scorpio, which is an absolute icon today. No other brand really has this. I can't think of anything at this level. Tata doesn't have it. Hyundai, well, it's got a Creta, but it's more like a mainstream thing. It's not got that kind of, cult status to it. Thar Rocks as well, both body on frame. And it's because it's body on frame.
Absolutely.
You've got the Fortuner to a certain extent, but that's very small volumes.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a phenomenal advantage they have. I think what's important though, they're not going to let go of body on frame.
Yeah.
So we talked about the first product on this new IQ. That name is quite something. A new IQ platform, which is going. Everyone talked about being the next gen Bolero.
Right.
A U171.
Yes, that's right.
But it's not going to be called the Bolero. It'll sell in parallel to the existing Bolero. It'll be like a Bolero sized vehicle.
Absolutely.
Probably addressing another part of that segment. So I think they've got this parallel track of both body on frame and this new range of monocoque. And really, they've kind of, stitched everything up in that sense. So it's really actually they're in a phenomenal position. And I think honestly, and to be brutally honest, they've just left Tata Motors way behind, because Tata Motors, they should have had that next platform which catered to the gap in the Creta segment,
Absolutely.
which is really the core of that segment. More flexible architectures. That's not happened. It is there on paper. We know that, but it's really not been signed off. So they definitely are lagging behind in this. And I think from what I understand, and talking to people in Hyundai, they see Mahindra now as their a big competitor for that number 2 spot.
Absolutely, Hormazd.
Though Hyundai is also not sitting still, as we know. We'll talk about that later. They've also got hugely ambitious plans.
Absolutely.
So in a way, Mahindra has tweaked the Korean tiger's tail. It's going to be a good fight between the two of them. Maruti, of course, is way ahead. But yeah, so I think really it is really phenomenal what Mahindra has achieved.
What's amazing to me is when you spoke of the new Bolero, every single time they've tried to come up with a replacement of a Bolero, and the existing Bolero has just continued.
Yeah, that's
similarly, they tried to do it with Scorpio. The Scorpio and created a completely different passion. Thar rocks. I mean, it's insane as to how they are creating families. And whenever I look at their production plan, I speak to my vendor friends and they're like 10,000 for this, 10,000 for this, 10,000 for this. And I'm like, where are they going to sell? And you go and check, and they're selling it like hot.
I mean, we cannot. I think we underestimate how critical body on frame is. I mean, and we think that consumers won't know what it is, but even in the hinterland, they refer to it as a chassis wali gadi.
Wow.
The chassis wali gadi jo chahiye, so I think that's what the kind of brand these products have developed, and I think the ladder on frame chassis is very intrinsic to us for decades and decades, and our road conditions really play to the strength of that. Yes, they are crude, they are not as refined as monocoques, and whatever people say and whatever they tried, even Mahindra tried to position the Tharox as a Creta competitor. It's not a Creta competitor. It's a different kind of vehicle at all. It doesn't have the same refined dynamics.
Right.
They have that opportunity with the production version of the Vision T, and I hope that's what they do, because they really should go for the Creta's jugular with that, and move closer to that than going further up to the Tharox.
Sometimes I wonder, because they are a pure SUV player, and which is 55% of the market, right? They are not playing in the sedan space. They're not playing in the MPV space, and company has come out and being very clear about it, that those are the spaces that they don't want to get in there. But you look at Hyundai, you look at Tata Motors, you look at Maruti, they actually have presence in the hatchback sedan. Sometimes I wonder, how long is this SUV wave going to continue? And with the sharper focus, their conviction is that they'll keep creating various, sub-segments in the market. And nomenclature is something that we talk of. Now, probably in future, you may see a 3XO, a 5XO, a 7XO, and even a 9XO. That's what we hear from our friends in the industry, and they want to cater to right from a sub 4 meter to even a large SUV in the market. And they are picking their, niches and making those niches into mass categories.
But it's interesting you say that, they're only focusing on SUVs. What about other segments? I think, maybe there's a reality that those other segments, they're never going to bounce back that in the way they should.
Becoming smaller and smaller.
They are becoming smaller and smaller because the SUV is fulfilling all those gaps with aspiration, with usability. Yes, you could make a case for the absolute small car, which I think is necessary at a time when, it has its advantages of fuel efficiency, of maneuverability, all that sort of thing. But, I think the SUV's attributes just overpower all that, and the compromises an SUV makes on maneuverability and, maybe efficiency is not that great anymore. Maybe the others have hedged a bit on the other segments more than they should have. They don't want to get out of it for obvious reasons, because you can never get back in again.
Absolutely.
But that's not really the lucrative part of the market. So
less on margins as well.
Volume
margin is lesser.
Absolutely. So, they have to be there because there's no one else there. So it is more strategic, I feel,
right?
Just to get that entry point. But today we've seen that, let's say first-time buyers are jumping straight in, sometimes into the 10+ lakh segment.
Yeah.
So, I think in that sense, the case for, or the worry of not having an non-SUV or not having a sedan or hatch in your portfolio, I don't think is there. And don't forget, I think with Mahindra, if they were to do a hatch, they would bomb.
Yeah.
People don't associate Mahindra with hatchbacks or with sedans.
I still remember.
They tried with, or even MPVs, for example. Marazzo, Logan, KUV 100, which was a quasi-hatch hatchback. I mean, they all failed. And I think they've learned their lesson from that.
Yeah, I still remember the first interview that I took of Rajesh after he took charge as the president of the automotive sector. And he said, first thing we decided, what is it that we don't want to do? And that brought in a lot more sharper focus. And they keep reiterating that fact again and again and again. And their intention is to kind of expand the horizon which is their core. And that's the reason why now they're talking about core SUV. From 20 to 30, they want to increase it further. So, yes, I mean, there's definitely merit in the sharper focus.
Yeah.
You instead of spreading yourself too thin, you make the niche more mass rather than get into other segment and be a challenger and lose the race.
Yeah. And I think, Ketan, as we kind of wrap this up, I think, we've got to see that, they've really got the goods now to really take on the market in a confident way. I think the platform itself, fully flexible, and it's got the crash ratings, it's got the torsional stiffness, it's relatively lightweight. I wouldn't say super lightweight as yet. I mean, it's still going to be around 1,400 kilos. But I think powertrain choice, I think they've just packed everything into this platform as possible. Long wheelbase, which is amazing because it's hard to achieve a 5-star crash in a sub 4 meter compact with a long wheelbase because your overhangs are reduced.
Right.
So your crash protection area automatically is reduced. So you have to use very innovative ways of, let's say, deflecting the impact into different load paths, which again, I think Velu showed. So I think that's been done. And I think even very cleverly what they've done is on some of the sub 4 meter, they've had the spare wheel on the outside because the spare wheel doesn't count for the
length of the vehicle.
For the length of the vehicle. So that's outside 4 meters. And it gives it the typical SUV look. You've got a full-size spare. Of course, the Vision X will have the spare under the boot floor, but that will take up boot space. But again, different kind of vehicle. So really, they've covered all of it.
Hormazd, the only mass player to have a flexible architecture, clearly future-proofing themselves for any eventuality, whichever way the market moves.
Absolutely, I think this is the way of the future. I think we spoke about it. Stellantis were hoping to bring their Stella M, STLA M into India, which was a flexible architecture. But of course, it just proved too expensive.
Absolutely.
Even that had the option of, ICE hybrid EV on it. But it didn't work but I think Mahindra have done it.
Yeah.
And they've done it at a level that, they've kind of democratized this. Again, the interior is all new. Buttons are coming back, which is a sensible thing. That is very welcome. They've got an Ethernet backbone for their ENE architecture. So, they're moving into SDVs. So, I think, moving at lightning speed, of course, going forward, there will have to be some maturity in design, maturity in the way the things work.
And address the niggles as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So there are still some cases of screens going off, coming back on. But, I think it's all part of the learning curve. And I think the way they kind of address the issues, I think, they just rapidly improves very, very fast.
Right. I mean, to me, Hormazd, the phenomenal story is a race to 1 million. I mean, not too long ago, they were at 250,000. They are talking about capacity of 1 million by 2028 and 1.5 million by 2032. Phenomenal. I mean, just a few years back, we heard it from Tata Motors, and then we heard it from Hyundai, and from nowhere, the largest SUV maker in terms of revenue, knocking at the door in terms of volumes, preparing well for the future of EVs. Now with this, I think my bet is that, if they continue to disrupt the market with products like what they have, I think they're definitely going to be number 2 in future. What's your take?
I think so, absolutely. And don't forget, they're just doing this with SUVs, which is amazing, and I think they can do that, but I will say that don't expect Hyundai to be sitting still. I think they've got some seriously aggressive plans as well. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Both are now publicly listed companies in
Answerable.
India, so very answerable. That kind of puts pressure on them to deliver. I think what this does to Maruti, I mean, it's too far ahead, but I think definitely their growth will come at the expense of Maruti's market share, which I think they may not be able to sustain going forward. Just looking at their products in the pipeline, but. Again, I think you've got these top three, which I would call right now, really slugging it out, and really going to be exciting the market with some very, very interesting products.
Tata will be a challenger then.
I think Tata will be a challenger. From what we've seen is we've not seen a new platform come out. First you've got to see that, then you'll get the products on top of that. So right now, they've got the Sierra. Not seen anything beyond that. What's going to be totally revolutionary. I mean, if you see what Mahindra did, it's just incredible. Just a whole new generation, a whole new range of new products. Amazing. But as I said, it'll have to be that finesse, that little bit of maturity, to kind of take them to that next level, and for them to really be perceived as global in global markets like Europe.
Absolutely. Exciting race ahead, Hormazd.
Yes, so that's it from us. Really, Mahindra is going places. They have their challenges going global, but no doubt this is a company in a hurry, backed by conviction, strong leadership, agility, and really an ambition to be a brand that is truly international. That's it from us on Deep Drive. Hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to tune in same time next week, Saturday, 11 a.m. Thanks for watching.